I'm Tanya and I'm an alcoholic.
Tanya.
Yeah, so I got asked like about a month ago to share, and I'm so grateful that I've got my studies to do, because that's been taking up like all of my time and effort, and so I haven't really been stressing about this. And as I'm sitting here, I don't really know how I'm feeling. It's very surreal. So I'll just follow like the other shares that I've heard, so starting from my childhood. So I'm the only child, so I grew up spoiled. And I had a very happy childhood actually. I always got what I wanted, very supportive family. So my parents got divorced when I was about 6, just before I went to school. And I remember listening to my mom speaking on the phone. I don't know who she was speaking to, but I was like standing by the door, like listening, and I heard that they were going to get divorced. And I didn't really know what that meant, and my mom got so angry because I was like listening to her conversation. And just remember standing by the window, looking out into the garden, and I didn't really know what I was feeling. I didn't feel like it was that I was to blame. I just kind of felt abandoned, I guess. But I saw my dad often. He came and visited, and I remember in grade 1, my teacher said to my mum that my uncle is like my father figure. So my uncle, he means the world to me. But so going to school, like we moved around quite a bit, and then when we finally settled in Maritzburg, I was in grade 3, and it was, I think, my 3rd school so far. And it was good. Like I was always this like happy, carefree little girl, had no problem making friends. And there's this one girl that she comes to mind. Like she was so jealous because I started becoming good friends with her friend, and we were all in grade 3. And it just kind of started like friction between her and I for many years. We were friends on and off again, and I remember what sticks out to me in grade 6, I always got along better with people older than me, so I hung out with the grade 7s, and that girl and her group of friends said to me, if you don't come up to one of the classrooms with us, then we're not going to be friends anymore. And I chose to stay where I was, because don't tell me what to do, even from a young age, don't tell me what to do. And that just kind of set the tone for a few years to follow, it was always like friends on and off again, and that's where I just started getting fed up, I was like, F this, I'm not going to stand for this, and I just kind of went and did my own thing. But in between all of that, like, I found a group of friends, and they were like my life. I was so codependent, I guess. I chose them over family because, even though the environment, like in my family, was very supportive and everything, I found myself struggling to make myself emotionally available to those around me. And my mom, she was like going through her own stuff, obviously, with my dad not being there, and she's like a little stressful. She's got anxiety and depression. Like, it was very difficult for me to connect with my mom. And I was also jealous of the other girls who had like amazing relationships with their moms. But it's not my mom's fault. Like, it is what it is. And she still loved me a lot in her own way, and and then so my dad came back, I think, when I was like 13, just before high school, and at that time, like, I was already like so used to doing my own thing. I could manipulate my mom and just kind of work my way around her, and then he came and he tried taking control, and I did not stand for that. I was so rude to my dad for many years after that. Like, we had, so I'm going to jump around, obviously, like the timeline is messy, but he tried very hard as well. I got into motocross and I started racing. My dad was just, I remember the one time when I beat my record at the track, like, he was so excited, and he really tried so hard, and what I did with that, I was a complete brat. So we went to the petrol station to fill up my bike with petrol and to get a like can thing, because I was going to go to the track. I was just such a bitch to him, and he just lost it, like, and I do not blame him. Like, my dad is very slow to snap. He's got a lot of patience, something I don't have, my mom also doesn't have. You know, and for him to snap the way he did was just, you know, it just shows how I pushed him. But what I did with that is I was like, you have no right to do that, you abandoned me, I don't know how you can come back and just, you know, try be in control. And I pushed my dad to a point where he had to come apologize to me when I was the one that was in the wrong from the start, you know. So that was kind of, you know, I had so much resentment towards my dad. I didn't understand the circumstances, obviously, of what happened. I just kind of felt justified in all the horrible things I did because, you know, my dad left. But yeah, so the first time I had a drink, I cannot remember that, but I remember one of the times, like in my early using stage, was I got a bottle of vodka with a friend and we decided to drink at home. And yeah, I remember waking up, my hair was wet, everything, like all the sheets and the bedding was on the floor, and it was just horrible. And she said to me, I passed out. Oh, I had blood on my head, as a 13-year-old, blood on my head here. And she said I passed out, I fell, I vomited all over myself, and she had to like try to shower me, you know. And I remember we mixed it with Tropica, and for many years after that I blamed the Tropica, you know. It wasn't me drinking excessively, because there's like milk in Tropica, so I was like, no, it's definitely that. So I never mixed alcohol with Tropica ever again, you know. And going into high school, I felt like I was still very innocent, and there were so many rumors because like the high school and the primary school was on the same premises, and so a lot of people knew me and my group of friends. And yeah, there were so many rumors. Like this girl came up to me one day and told me something about myself that didn't happen, you know, and I was like, this is so ridiculous. Like I felt so threatened and intimidated, and yeah, that's when I made a decision to, you know, I'll show you. If you're going to say that is me, I'll show you who I really am, you know, that type of mentality. And yeah, I tried drugs for the first time when I was 14, and I absolutely loved it. It was the most amazing feeling ever. Like it was at a sporting event, it was night series rugby, and I was just running around like, you know, so happy and laughing and everything. And I was like, okay, I found my thing now, you know. And yeah, I guess my high school like stage, whatever, was about drinking, using drugs, and partying. In primary school, I had no trouble, you know, getting good grades because it was easy, and I kind of thought that going into high school it will be the same, you know. So in grade 9, I failed maths. It was the one term, and I was like laughing about it. It was quite funny to me, you know. And yeah, I guess like a lot of my behavior in high school, just it's so evident from that you know, I am who I am. So I obviously, with me pushing my dad out, he didn't really have a say in anything I did, so I manipulated my mom. So whenever there was like problems, when I had problems with a group of friends and stuff, I'd say to my mom, okay, it's time to go to a different school. Okay, so I went to so many schools, you know, and I was just never fully happy there. And then I'd be like, okay, it's time to go to another school. And it's not that I got into trouble with the office or, you know, it was just I wasn't happy, so I had to run away. And yeah, looking back, I won't do anything different. Obviously, well, I won't have a choice. But I feel like I learned a lot, you know, during those times of just moving. And yeah, so anyways, when I was 16, I met my ex-boyfriend, and I was like madly in love with him. He was a drug addict as well. We drank together all the time. I remember for Valentine's Day, he asked me, so do you want to like go have dinner or whatever, or do you want to drink and use drugs? I was like, yeah, no, let's use drugs and drink. And he's like, okay, but you can't throw that into my face. And then with our first fight after that, I was like, yo, you don't even take me out for dinner and everything. But yeah, if I had been given the choice to do something normal or, drink and use, I would have gone for the second option. So yeah, I guess like the disease just progressed during those years, and my parents, so my mom found out about my using when I was, I think 17, and she cried so much, and because things were rocky between my dad and myself, she said she's not going to tell my dad. So I was like, okay, cool, I can carry on, and then eventually I stole medication from my dad, like that he really needed. I didn't know he really needed it. And that's how he found out. So he said, Tanya, I'm either going to test you or you tell me now. So I told him the drug that I didn't think was a drug. I told him that I'm on that, and he's like, Tanya, I'm going to test you. So I told him about all the other stuff. And he cried. Like for the second time in my life, I saw my dad cry. So I just want to backtrack. So when I was around 16, I tried committing suicide. I took like a whole bunch of pills, and I remember like in the car ride to the hospital, because my mom actually caught me in the act. Like I was so pissed off that she did, but it all happened so fast. So in the car ride, I remember just praying to God. I was like, please, can you just hold my hand? And like in my head, I had expectations that God would like hold my hand. I would feel how he's holding my hand. And when that didn't happen, I was like, okay, oh my word, I'm done with this. It's not real, And I kind of thought that God like abandoned me also because of all the things I did, that was the first time I saw my dad cry. When he came to me afterwards, he's like, Tanya, I give you everything, I do everything for you, like, why are you doing this? Why are you not happy? And, it really got to me, but I forgot it as quickly as, because disease of forgetfulness, like, I did not dwell on it much longer, I guess. So anyways, with varsity, go back to the second time he cried. So then he said to me, okay, well, he's going to send me to my grandparents for a while. And I was there, and I was so happy because I made it 5 months clean, and I was like, I can do this. But meantime, I was trying to like take a lot of Panado, but Panado wasn't working for me, and I didn't understand why. And now I understand, because it's something we can have in recovery, because it doesn't have an effect. But during that 5 months clean, I was drinking like a fish, honestly. But I didn't see alcohol as a drug or anything. It was just normal. It's legal, damn it. So, I went to varsity the following year, and the drinking just continued. I just caused so much nonsense. Like I crashed into another car in the varsity parking lot, and I just left it there. Like I spit away. I was sitting in Japanese garden, spitting on a tissue, crying, drunk as hell, trying to rub the dent out of my car. Like that's the type of things I did. And eventually picked up drugs again. And it got so bad. I went to varsity, so my parents could see on the tracker, that I was at varsity, but I sat at the smoking area, drinking, using, and just smoking, I didn't go to lectures, and I was like, it's fine, I'll just ask people to sign the register for me. Eventually got into trouble, almost failed the year. But I ended up just failing accounting 3 times, because every single time before the exam, I drank. And I didn't think, okay, I failed, maybe I should go study a bit. All I did was, okay, now I've got this, and then just repeated the same thing again. And so after varsity, so obviously it was only a year, because I did a bridging course, so obviously I didn't even get my certificate. I decided to go work. And I was going to work and do my BCom, and my mom paid for the whole year, and then I decided that no, I'm not going to do BCom, so she lost all the money. And that's just the type of thing, like, just take from my parents. I don't even care how it affects them. I was like, oh, okay, fine. And I just carried on with work, and that's where things got really, really bad, because I got introduced to, I just realized I skipped the whole ex-boyfriend part out when I was 16. But it's not relevant. So then I got introduced to another guy that I was working with, And he introduced me to my drug of choice. And it was only 5 months of using that drug, and it just, I was physically not okay, emotionally not okay, things just went downhill so quickly, and I had such a nice place to live, honestly, and I was like, okay, self-will run riot. Thought I got another place to stay at with me and him, and didn't really make set plans for that. So I left the place that I was staying at. I was homeless for a few days, before we finally got a place, and it was just like there was no planning involved whatsoever. The main focus was just drugs, made quite decent money with the job, but all of it went to using and drinking and all of that, and I still had to ask my mom for money, to support that habit. And I just remember, one day, I was like, I'm not going to go to work because I don't have petrol. I was in such a state emotionally, hardly had any drugs left, had no food or anything, and I just remember sitting in a dark room in the new place. It was a horrible place, and I did not know what to do. It was literally a dark room, and I didn't want to kill myself, but I also didn't want to live, and that was kind of the moment where I realized, I'm not okay. And obviously what I did was I eventually got up, dusted myself off, sorted out some stuff, sold a few things, and got more drugs. And then my mom said to me that she wants to see me because she's in Toti. I was in Durban at the time, and I made plans to go visit my mom. I was like, okay, after work on the Sunday, I'll come visit you. And so I said I'll go at 3. I remember this so clearly. And I think around 5, she phoned me. She's like, okay, are you going to come? I'm making dinner and everything. I was like, yeah, I'm coming. But I was on the bed using. I could not, get myself away from the drug just to get in the car and drive to Toti, It was horrible. And sorry, I don't want to get emotional. So I just remember my mom was crying. She's like, if you don't want to come, you don't have to come. It's just I haven't seen you in such a long time. And I eventually got in the car, and I made sure I had all my stuff with me, it's news there. Went to Toti, and my mom drug tested me. And so she didn't know what to do. Every time when my mom drug tested me in my life, she would stare at it, then read the instructions, then stare at it like a whole process, because she didn't want to believe what she saw. And so I came up with a lie. I was like, okay, so I got I don't know how to say this without saying. I got the weed from a taxi rank, and that was probably laced with other stuff. And I was like, okay, yes, she bought it. So I did what I do best, and I ran away again. I was like, okay, so I'm not going to stay the night. Thank you for the food. I hardly ate. I have work the next day. So I went back to the house in Durban. And following day, I phoned her. Everything was fine in my head. I was like, yes, I got away with this. And my mom on the phone, she answered the phone sobbing. And she said she can't do this anymore. And she said she doesn't want to live if I'm going to carry on doing this to her. And I remember I was sobbing on the phone as well. I was like, I do not have a problem. I can stop now. I promise I'll stop. But something inside of me, very faint, said no, I can't. But I wasn't ready yet, And after the phone call, went to the bathroom, used again. And that's basically how it was, And then I tried carrying on with life like normal. But it was just a disaster, until some of my co-workers said you need to go into treatment. So I was like, okay, cool. So I said to my mom, I'll go into treatment just to kind of get them off my back, just to recover just for a little bit, and then I'll just carry on. So I went to treatment. And it was a horrible experience in the beginning. I just remember when I got there, I felt very anxious and trapped, and I was like, no, I'm going to go to them. I'm going to say I want to go back to Toti, where my mom is, and I just want to be on the couch for a few days and just recover and get off the drugs, and then I'm going to be fine. And they didn't want me to do that. So I threw a tantrum. I swore at one of the counselors, like really badly, and it was just, I felt like I couldn't control it. Well, I was used to obviously reacting that way to get my way, but I also felt like something else took over my body, you know. It's very weird to explain, and I was just so defiant the whole time. Like, these people were trying to tell me what to do, and like, I don't want to go for that. Like, don't tell me what to do. So I just caused so much shit, and then one of the cats died, and I like formed an emotional connection with the cats in treatment, and then when that cat died, I made everything about me. You know, people are not allowed to step on the wet floor that I just mopped, you know, because then I just threw a tantrum because, you know, the cat died. And that's just basically how it went. And I remember there was one day, it was not a very good day for me. I was obviously very entitled, arrogant, self-piteous, because, you know, everyone's picking on me. There's concern groups, they're always tuning me, why? And I think we had a concern group, and then a women's group, and then another informal women's group. I think the counsellor was just so fed up because the argument was about a pen between me and another girl, and I was just so resentful at her, and I just felt so justified, you know. I just remember the counsellor shouted at me, and something just happened. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like something just went on, like in my head, like a light just went on, and after that, like, things were a bit different, you know. I learned that, okay, just because she did something doesn't mean that I have the right to act the way that I do. You know, like, what she's doing is basically irrelevant. Like, I need to look at myself. And I wish I can say, like, after that, treatment was a bit easier, but it wasn't. I had a lot of up and down moments, you know, but something that sticks out to me was, you know, as I said, like that time when I tried committing suicide, I asked God to hold my hand, and when it didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen, you know, I was like, no thanks. And also before I went to treatment, my mom said to me, Tanya, just, you know, turn to God. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. And then when I saw the steps were like, you know, the God of your understanding, I was like, okay, I can work with this because nothing's going to be forced on me. And I just remember sitting by the pond the one day, and I was like, okay, you know, I'm going to speak to my higher power. That's what I did, out loud. I just spoke to my higher power. And I just remember the, like, sunrise was so beautiful, and I just started crying, but I didn't feel sad. Like, you know, that's the only way I can describe it. And I went, like, up to the steps eventually, and then, like, again, I was just sobbing, and the one lady said, Tanya, this is what you've been wanting the whole time, like, you're feeling God's grace. And it was like a very powerful moment for me, you know, because something that I was kind of searching for, and then, you know, kind of avoiding because it didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen. Like, there it happened in this, like, treatment center. It was the most difficult time of my life, you know, like, being in treatment, having to look at myself and having, you know, to break down those walls. And then, you know, that was just a sign to me that, you know, I am in the right place. And yeah, so out of treatment, I went to the halfway house. It also wasn't, like, as easy as I expected it to be. Obviously, I'm very entitled and arrogant, and, you know, it's always other people's faults. And I had to have a reality group, you know, where the counsellor came down and everyone, like, just focused on me, and I was so angry at everyone, you know, because I kind of felt like I did this treatment thing, I don't need to do it again. And, you know, I had to make a decision there, because she said to me, what you're going to do now is you're going to go to a meeting and you're going to share. And I remember I just sat there. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to face everyone after this, like, I'm so embarrassed. And then she actually gave me a hug, and then, like, I didn't think I was talking loud enough for everyone in the half house to hear, but they heard and they said, no, Tanya, like, it's fine, we're not judging you. So I had to make a decision, and I went to the meeting that night and I shared. And that's where everything just turned around for me again, you know. The process, like, in the year and a half that I was in treatment in the halfway house, it wasn't easy, you know. I had to make decisions. Like, When I just got out the treatment center, my old job phoned me. I spoke to my sponsor. She said, Tanya, if you go back to the old job, you can't be in the halfway house. So I had to make another decision, halfway house or go to the old job. So I chose halfway house. And I'm just so freaking grateful I did that, because that's why I'm where I am, And yeah, I made really good friends in recovery. Honestly, being stuck with 2 addicts during lockdown, that was the most amazing time. I got to learn to be okay with females, because I always associated females with drama, they're just gonna cause shit, stay away from them. But I was the one that caused most of the shit my whole life, So yeah, being able to connect with women, that's really powerful. I remember going to a meeting, so I started going to Howick meetings and saw this group of ladies, and I was like, oh no, I'm so intimidated, I don't want to go up to them, because I still have this thing in my head of women are catty and all of that. And I went against my head and went and stood with a group of women, and they were the most amazing people, the AA and NA people, they're just so supportive. And I'm still so amazed at how I can sit in front of a group of people and talk and everyone was listening. I remember an active, I had to shout just, to give someone my opinion. So yeah, and then coming home, going home to Maritzburg was a big adjustment for me. I struggled, obviously, because that was the town where I started my alcohol and drug journey, and kind of, it almost ended there. So yeah, it was scary. I didn't want to go anywhere for a while, because I drive past there and oh, okay, we used to go drinking there and stuff like that. But with the support of my sponsor and friends, I got through it, and I'm so grateful that I can be with my family. My dad, so thanks to the program, doing the step 5 with my sponsor, things have never been better between my dad and myself. We actually have a relationship now. Just kind of letting go of the resentment and the anger towards him, which wasn't justified, honestly. It just, I got to open myself up emotionally to let my parents into my life, and I was very fearful, obviously, because my gran, she, no smoking, no drinking, she's that type of person, and I really thought that I was going to lose, the rest of my family if they found out about, my alcoholism and addiction, but, all I'm receiving is love and support from my family, and my mom and I, as soon as I started changing, she started changing. And it was I didn't obviously realize it until my uncle pointed it out. We went to Cape Town and he said, Yessie, you are very calm. Is it because Tanya is so calm? And my mom's like, yeah, she feels so much better now that I'm better. And, that's allowing everyone to get along, Yeah, I still fight with my mom sometimes, because I have expectations. I would like her to work the program and do things the way I want her to do it. But, she still suffers with depression and anxiety, and I just want to fix her, Sometimes all of my energy goes to that, and then I need to be reminded by my sponsor, I cannot fix her, I cannot control her. But something amazing happened last night. So I don't know if I'm jumping around, I hope it makes sense. I was so nervous because I'm doing my studies again, and this business plan has just been, they're really getting to me. And I spoke to my mom on the phone, and I was like, I'm so anxious, and she's like, okay. And I was like, yeah, and the share tomorrow, I think that's just adding to the anxiety. She's like, okay, well, don't project. I think you need to go meditate. You know everything that you need to do. And I was like, oh my word, just by me doing it and talking about it, I'm helping my mom and my dad, and she knows that. So I was like, that's so cool, because that's what my sponsor said, show her by putting the action in. You know, you can tell her until you blue in the face what to do, but if you do it, then she's gonna see. You know, so yeah, that was like a really nice moment for me. And yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's something else. My studies, okay, I actually want to talk about my studies. So failing accounting 3 times, you know, and then doing my BCom again this year, like it's just such a massive change doing it clean and sober. Like I'm getting distinctions for this semester, only distinctions, and you know, it's because I'm not relying on alcohol and drugs to help me do it. You know, it's because I have a program that helped me with everything I do, you know, and it's just thanks to recovery that I am where I'm at, you know, and I can give everything to my studies, you know, and make indirect amends to my mom in that way, you know, because I just really made life so difficult for her with just taking the money and just, you know, doing what I wanted to do. And yeah, this is just a nice way for me to, you know, work on my future, make indirect amends, and yeah, it's honestly been a very messy but very amazing journey. So yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks.